was a son. He was devoured by earth. There was a God. They call him the Father. And there was a means to make a valley with grace out of this hole that I've dug for me. He made a valley of grace where things.
Good evening and welcome to Healing Our Brokenness, episode 56, entitled The Gift of Limitation. When you think of the word limitation, it makes you think in terms of, and it is as far as defining it, not being able to do something. It makes you focus on lack, what cannot be done, instead of what can be done. Limitation has a negative connotation, I would say. It makes you think of being weak, and sometimes having limits on things, having those limitations makes us think of the limitation itself as being cruel. We want to be able to do everything and anything that we want to do whenever we want to do it. And so when we take on that mindset, we do not listen to our bodies. We do not listen to what our souls, our inner souls, are telling us. We do not listen to our psychological state, so to speak, our spiritual state at all. We just want to do what it is that we want to do. And so when it comes to limitations, the first thing that I want to talk about is that limitations prevents pride. If we could do everything that we wanted to do whenever we wanted to do it, that would mean that we could be more like God. It would cause a lot of pride to come inside of us because, hey, there's no limit to what we can do. I can do everything. You can do everything. And then the next thing you know, we don't need God. Why we need him? Because he's enabled us to do everything we need to do on our own. The scripture reminds us that the joy of the Lord is our strength. And what happens is when we decide we're going to do things in our own strength, then what happens is that we start to feel burnout. We're not getting the strength from the joy of the Lord and allowing him to reign. We're getting it from our physical selves when we have limitations on how far that can go. Number two, limitations force us to enforce boundaries with people and events and things, or we become enslaved to people, to things, to places, to events. So either we enforce a limitation as a boundary, or we are slave to that thing. Number three, limitations to appreciate our own uniqueness. If we could do every single thing that everyone else does, and just as well as everyone else does, there would be a lot of variety. And God is a God of variety. Whether it comes to flowers, when you look at them, we look at different plants, we look at each other, our skin tones, the way that we talk, the pitch of our voices, the way that we sing, where some of us are altos, sopranos, tenors, bass, baritones. We have all those different things. And so if there was no limit on what it is that we can do like someone else, then there would be no uniqueness. And that is against God's creation, because God is a very unique God. He is a very individualistic God. And even if we have 20 things like another person, we still might have another 30 that are different. Number 4, limitations require us to be self-aware. And if we are not self-aware, we will not be able to discern what our limitations are. And if we are ripping and running every time we turn around and not giving ourselves time and space to heal, to feel, to be in the present moment, our psyche will not have space for becoming self-aware of certain patterns that we have adopted along the way. We won't have room to say, every time I do A, then B comes along. Next thing you know, C happens. But if we don't have the room or the space to do that, then we won't know what our limitations are. And I have just recently figured out with myself within the last almost 2 years, I would say, and even more so as of lately, I cannot rip and run every single day, even if it's good things, even if it's things that's involving doing it with other people, without having some downtime for myself. And I love people. I am very much so energized by people who are life-giving. However, I have got to have time, as my therapist would say, to veg out on the things that I like to do to fill myself up, to make me feel good about myself, to replenish my soul, to be renewed and refreshed. Whether it's going out in nature, listening to music, dancing, singing, reading for 3 or 4 hours, watching certain types of feel-good movies that I like to watch, which I like a lot of the older shows like The Waltons, Little House on the Prairie, and some of the new ones, Wind Calls the Heart, those type of things. But it's what I like to do. Very simple things. But if I do not have enough of that to do on my own, and I'm too busy during the week, every day, then it takes the pleasure out of doing things that are even life-giving with others if I have not been able to have enough alone time myself. So yes, I've been filling myself up, but I actually have to have enough alone time myself in order to feel like I am ready to be out and to have the life-giving effect of groups. And sometimes it can be quite annoying, but I have realized that is my limitation. If I have to run during the week, then I'm not going to be able to go out and do something. If there's less running during the week, then I can do a lot of things with other people before I have to say, okay, I need to sit back. I need to take one day at home and do nothing, but do things that I like to do, and then I can go back out again. And what happened was in 2012, when my health started to plummet, and I was still with my ex-husband at the time, and the beginning of trauma set in due to the circumstances that I was living in, I started to see certain limitations. And by 2014, when I thought it was okay for me to go back to work, I soon, and very soon, realized that it was not God's timing for me to go back, but I stayed in the situation because I had to get bills paid, and I was not getting paid the proper amount in order to be able to make my monthly expenses. However, I paid a huge price. I worked at a particular company for 9 months, and my health, my physical health, emotional health, and psychological health suffered tremendously. And my physical health suffered so that my thyroid was 50 times the norm. My adrenal glands had gone into overactive drive, and they were plummeting. And so it got to the point where I had to literally lay down and rest 5 to 6 times a day. I was going out and doing different things. I had stopped working at that point after the 9-month period. And I was going out and doing things. And if you looked at me, you would have thought I was fine, but I was not fine. I was not fine at all. Like I said, I had to rest a good 5 or 6 times a day in order to be able to go out to the groups and do what I was doing. But that community was so important to me at that time. Had I not taken on the limitation, my body would have just plummeted, and I probably would have been hospitalized because I was headed in that direction. At work, I had, in the beginning, took a break and took a lunch break. Then there were times where I stopped taking a lunch break, stopped taking a regular break. Then it went to permanently just working through lunch so I could get things done. And it was in a very toxic work environment. I had already reached my limitation, but I ignored it. My body was already giving me signs and signals left and right. The bells were going off. The red exclamation points were hitting, but I was ignoring it. Oh, I got to get my bills paid. I've got to get my bills paid. As the headaches came, as the blood pressure rose, as the panic attacks hit, I've got to get my bills paid. And so I suffered tremendously with my thyroid. And I suffered a lot of shame because of it. That the fact of all of the trauma I had gone through had caused me to be in this state, along with the job that I was working in a toxic environment. And so the shame of realizing that I should have been on disability at that time because I was not physically able to work anywhere, I did not want to bear it. I ignored that limitation and figured, oh yes, I could work anyway. And so sometimes God puts us in a time out when we ignore those signs and signals, when we ignore the discernment that he's given us to say that, hey, something's wrong, we need to stop here. I praise God that he slowly restored some of my physical health, but there are still some things now that I am unable to do, and there are still some things now that require me to rest a little bit longer, sleep a little bit longer, stop a little bit earlier. And so whatever limitation it is that you have to set for your life, only you can do that. And whatever limitation it is that I have to set for my life, only I can do that. Elijah thought that he could do everything. And he took off running from Jezebel after he had been threatened. so many areas. And the devil caused a spiritual attack to come upon him. And he thought he could keep running. But he was at a time out where he needed to eat and rest. And when he woke up from eating and resting, he was able to he wanted to run again. And the angel told him, no, eat and rest again. And so when we pay attention to the limitations from the discernment, the wisdom and discernment that God gives us, we lead more abundant lives instead of leading lives of stress. I hope that something has been said today that was instilled in your heart, made you think a little bit longer, made you consider whether or not you have time and space for limitations and etc. Check us out at valleyofgrace.blog. That's valleyofgrace.blog. If you want to read up on other posts involving trauma, poetry, devotionals, recipes, etc. Thank you, and until next time.
You turn those valleys into places to learn instead of burn and perish away. And nights never so cold without His grace. How could I say that I've seen the world from His great love? How could I know what He could love? How would I have seen what He had in store for me if I didn't give up and let Him be my valley of grace, where things would change and maybe they'd take up the cross high again? The valley of grace never was the same after He had died. The love that refines. So much I wish I could give back, but I'm not intact to be sharing all of that. You took the price to give me that life, and now it's never gonna fade away. When I see I need more of Him, He whispers the sweetest of mercies upon my ears, and I won't go back the way it was again, 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 and now a valley of grace where things would change. I've seen the lights of valley of grace where things have changed. Oh, I've seen so much for me.